Subcommittee will come to order. Without objection, all members may have 5 days to submit statements, questions, and extraneous materials for the record, subject to the limitation in the rules. I will now introduce myself for 5 minutes of an opening statement, and then the ranking member will give his opening statement. I am from the state of Texas. I live in the Houston area, and trade is the lifeblood of my district. Over half of the Houston, Texas economy depends upon the port of Houston. Many people don't know that, even in Texas. And study after study has shown that the more we trade, the more jobs there are in the United States for Americans. The Port of Houston is an export port. We export everything from fuel to little widgets that make valves in foreign countries. Trade is more than just a market access and job. Trade is a key part of foreign policy, and it's also a part of, I believe, national security. One of the biggest reasons why we won the Cold War is because of our economic model is so much better than that of the communist system. People around the world compared our economy to the Soviet Union's and could see the difference. And where the U.S. was the beacon of freedom and free enterprise, the USSR was all about government control. And when the U.S. opened up trade around the world, the USSR closed itself off. Countries now in Asia are eager to reduce their economic dependence upon China. They don't like Beijing's economic model. They would much rather have a region based upon free market principles. TPP is our opportunity to move into the region in a free market direction and compete with China. It is much better if the United States takes the lead in writing the economic rules for the 21st century in Asia than if China did. China steals intellectual property. It has state-owned enterprises that get unfair subsidies from the central government, and it would not seem to me to be wise for the Chinese model to expand in Asia. A trade agreement written by China is going to be a lot worse for American interests than if we write it. If we don't get TPP accomplished, it is not just the economic price that we pay. We would essentially be telling Asia that the United States is not interested in Asia. Asian countries will basically have no choice but to look to China as a trading partner. But there are also other strategic advantages for TPP. The more economically connected we are, we can become in Asia, the closer cooperation opens up in other areas like counterterrorism. For example, Malaysia has had a problem with ISIS supporters. With strong trade, we give governments with such types of ISIS problems an incentive to work together on those kinds of tough problems and solve them together. TPP is a chance for the United States to show Asia that we care. Asia does not have to submit to China's ways, and that we can work together. But most importantly, TPP is good for the United States. The free trade deal the United States is negotiating with the European Union, known as TTIP, offers similar strategic advantages. Even more aggressive than China, Russia took over the sovereign territory of Georgia, Ukraine. I have met with the ambassadors of other countries in the Baltics. The Bulgarians and the Romanians all feel like they could be next for Russian aggression. One of the reasons why it has been so hard to cooperate with the EU on these issues is that Russia uses Europeans' dependence on Russia for energy to blackmail Europe. Countries like Latvia, Finland, and Sweden get 100% of their natural gas from Europe. 12 countries in the EU get over half their natural gas from Russia. So Russia threatens Europe to get to them to do what Moscow wants. Right now in the United States, there is more natural gas than we can use, but the United States government will not allow American companies to export natural gas. The only exceptions are for companies exporting to a country with whom we have a free trade agreement, or companies that get special approval from the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy approval process has been slow, so slow that drillers have stopped drilling because they know they can't sell it. The long-term solution to this problem is to let American companies sell natural gas around the world. But in the meantime, if we get TTIP done, that also means we can export LNG eventually to every country in the European Union. And they no longer would Russia have a stranglehold over Europe. No longer would Europe be reluctant to get tougher with Russia and their aggression. This is just one strategic advantage of TTIP. I think there are others. Finally, TTIP and TPP could help push the world toward greater liberalization. Formal global trade negotiations in Doha are on hold, but together TTIP and TPP represent 90% of the world's GDP. These pacts could help set the global standard. and countries who do not want to be left out would have to agree to the tough standards set by these agreements in order to enjoy the benefits. Trade agreements have a geopolitical effect far beyond trade itself. I will now yield to the ranking member, Mr. Keating from Massachusetts, for his 5-minute opening statement.